Constitution, my Bill of Rights doesn't apply to anybody outside this country.
Yes, but it applies to everyone inside this country.
Not legally.
If you don't have a trial, then we don't have freedom.
That's not true.
Someone had a real ID on a work site. They were still arrested by ICE. They said it was fake. Due process is good. And if anyone doesn't have it, you don't have it.
Earlier today, we covered the good liars at the Trump dictator parade, so I thought why not end it by hopping into Walter Masterson to get the full grasp of the MAGA mindset and what they think of the unconstitutional and frankly fascist actions from the Trump administration. You leave your bets in the comments now if any of them have any problems at all or if they're all completely fine with it, and then go ahead and smash the like button for us. It gives us a big boost in the algorithm, and we'll go ahead and get right to what's happening.
A person that was breaking the law.
But how do we know that they're breaking the law without?
They were illegally here.
But how do we know that without a trial?
We know that from their involvement in gangs. We know that from.
But how do we know that without a trial?
We don't have to have a trial to know somebody committed a crime.
So we just believe the federal government if they say that.
No.
Then there's a trial. Someone has to say it. How do you prove it?
I mean, you prove like
I can say that you were in MS-13 and send you to another country.
You're not a citizen. You get deported.
Right. But how do you prove that without a trial?
Yeah, you could immigration trial.
I arraigned.
No, okay, that's fine. Okay, immigration
courts.
trial.
Yeah, that's fine. We're fine with that.
Yeah, that's a trial.
That's not the problem. The problem is if you don't have a trial, then we don't have freedom.
That's not true.
But what's to stop the government from arresting you and just sending you away if you don't have a trial, if you don't have a lawyer?
Which they did at the January 6ers.
Okay, lot to break down there. First, to the point about Jan 6ers not getting due process, because I see this going around a lot as a rebuttal to Trump just blatantly violating due process, but it holds no weight. I think a lot of people say this hoping you don't know the context and you'll go, but the Oath Keepers waived their right to a speedy trial on their own volition. Another name you hear is Jake Lang and how he was held without ever receiving a trial. He too postponed his own trial. There's a couple other names. They all did it on their own volition. And in each of these instances, the people did it in hopes Trump would come in and just pardon them, which he then came in and pardoned them. Every single person arrested on January 6th got due process, even the people I just mentioned, as in choosing to postpone or waive your right to a speedy trial. Is you utilizing your due process? You have to think like migrants don't even get that choice. And quickly, because I've made this point 100 times now, they are correct. You have no way to know who's here legally or who committed a crime without due process, especially if we're saying we can't trust the faceless bureaucrats in the government. Why trust them on this? Due process is fundamental. If everyone doesn't have the right, nobody does.
If you're illegal, understand, apparently you think you're a lawyer. So determine what the word illegal means. Determine me what illegal means. Because illegal migrant, right in the title, illegal.
Crossing the street outside of a crosswalk. It's illegal.
The second you crossed my border, you became an illegal immigrant.
Putting a deck on your house, illegal. Murdering someone, illegal. There's a spectrum.
Again, my Constitution, my Bill of Rights doesn't apply to anybody outside this country.
Yes, but it applies to everyone inside this country.
Not legally, it applies.
It applies to everyone in this country. That's why we're the freest country on earth.
That's the problem with this. Exactly. Get them the fuck out, then we can deal with ours.
I don't want you to get disappeared by the government. My uncle, hardcore conservative, does not trust the government. Why do you trust the government?
I don't trust the fucking government.
Why not protect your freedom?
It's my government, not yours.
He makes a great point there about the spectrum of crime, and it's something, again, that conservatives seem to understand when they're telling you that falsifying business records isn't that serious of an offense, but I digress. The point of a legal immigration system is to make sure the people you're letting in are going to benefit your country, not cause harm or damage to your citizens or, recklessly break laws. If someone came without proper documentation or did, and then their visa or status expired, but they've been paying taxes, been working regularly, haven't committed a serious offense, there's no moral standing to deport them then, right? Economically, it doesn't make sense. We went through that. And logically, it's not the plausible thing to do. Appealing to the illegality is a bit of a misnomer there. Also, again, it's wild that these people want the Constitution to only apply to some people. Think historically how that argument is held up, right? There's no doubt these people would have cheered on the Gestapo and ratted on Anne Frank. They would have thought the Three-Fifths Compromise was too progressive and that women's suffrage would ruin America.
Do you know what due process means?
I do, yes. Thank you, hon.
What?
For citizens, yes.
For sentencing?
For citizens.
For citizens. Yeah, but there's a bunch of Supreme Court edicts where
follow me, man.
everyone's allowed to it if you're on U.S. soil. There's actually Supreme Court precedents that go back to like the 1800s.
Well, it's just like, the federal government, which I guess we trust to be good all the time, is like, hey, I'm going to put you in jail. And if you don't have due process, you don't get to talk to a lawyer. If it happened to you, what would you do? You would want to talk to a lawyer, right?
Yeah,
if
as
you
a
got
citizen,
arrested.
yeah.
How do you prove you're a citizen without due process?
I have a birth certificate and a
No,
social
you
security
can't get
card.
that. You're in jail. How do you get it?
I was
On your
born
person
with it.
right now. You have it right on.
I have my
Do you have
real
it on you?
ID.
Oh, no, someone had a real ID on a work site. They were still arrested by ICE. They said it was fake. Due process is good. And if anyone doesn't have it, you don't have it.
And that is the importance of rights, right? You can't overlook that. If everyone doesn't have them, then neither do you. Because, and here's the logic, if the justification can exist for it to be removed, then it can be created for you. What stops that from happening? This is why we shouldn't support things just because, at the moment, it doesn't affect me. Another good point being made here is how the party of, again, I've said this multiple times now, you can't trust the government, is now so willing to say, the government said you're illegal, so you're illegal. Like, guys, do we not remember the Central Park 5? Trump does. I know Trump does. Do we not remember Jim Crow? Do I need to list the names of wrongfully accused Black people? Do I need to do that? Because I will, right? Why would we go and repeat the worst part of American history? The mistakes that we know are mistakes. Why?